Welcome to DWBIADDA channel. Please subscribe for latest training videos.
Kubernetes cluster in Google Cloud Platform. So before proceeding further, I would like to share some information with you regarding this platform. So this is basically a cloud service provided by the Google, and you can use it just like Amazon Web Services and Microsoft Azure. So to use this cloud platform, what you need to do is, first of all, you need to have a Google account, and then you can create a Google Cloud Platform account also using that. And after logging into this platform, you can see the dashboard here, and here is the navigation menu at the left side. So initially what we can do is we can create a new project. So we'll click on new project. Here we can name our project as Kubernetes Neo, and we can allocate an organization to it also, but we'll click on create. Now from here, from this icon, what we can do is we can access our project. So we'll click on Kubernetes New, which is the new project we just created now. And this is basically the dashboard where you can see all the information regarding the project. So like project name, project ID, and there are some shortcuts also. So we'll click here on the left side. Now Google has an inbuilt Kubernetes engine to launch the clusters. So it's pretty easy to work on Kubernetes cluster on Google Cloud Platform. So we'll click on Kubernetes Engine. Now whenever you click on the Kubernetes Engine, initially the Kubernetes Engine API is enabled by Google, and this can take some time. So we'll wait for it to get enabled. Now as the API engine is getting enabled, we can see the information regarding the Kubernetes engine. So Kubernetes engine basically comprises of Kubernetes clusters, and clusters we can, as you can see here, it's written container packages and application, so it can be easily deployed to run its own isolated environment. So as discussed previously also, container is basically packaging the applications which we are running in isolated environments, and containers are managed in clusters that automate VM creation and maintenance. So containers are basically present in clusters, and using clusters we can create different types of virtual machine with different configuration and manage them. So as our cluster, as our Kubernetes engine is ready to deploy a cluster, to create a cluster, we can click on create. Now while clicking on create a Kubernetes cluster, you can see many configurations to select from. So on the left side, you can clone an existing cluster, you can choose a standard cluster, or you can click on your first cluster that is experimenting with Kubernetes engine. So according to your need, you can select the one you want to choose. Now I'll go with the standard one. Here you can name your cluster as first cluster. Now you can choose the location type as zonal or regional. So I'll go with the zonal one and choose the zone US Central 1A. Here you can select the Google Kubernetes engine which you want to choose. So I'll go with the default one. Now node pools are separate instances group running in Kubernetes in a cluster. So apart from this cluster, there is a separate pool which will be created alongside, and you can select the number of nodes which you want to have. So it can't be zero, so the minimum should be one. Now here you can choose the machine type. So as we are using it for demonstration purposes, so I'll go with the micro one. So as it's written here that the number of node in the cluster must be 3 when all the nodes are having machine type F1 micro, so we'll keep it as 3. Now till here we have selected the basic configuration. If you want, you can see some advanced function also, like networking, the VPC, and related to security. Apart from that, you can also enable dashboard, enable Istio. So we'll leave it as it is and click on create. Now creating the cluster can take a bit of time. So we'll wait for the cluster to get created. So friends, as you can see, our first cluster has been successfully launched. So we can see the location of the cluster, the size, and the total cores and the memory obtained by the server. Now what we can do right here is we can click on deploy. Here deployment option is basically for containers, or we can go back also. Now we'll click on connect. Now there are two ways to connect to the cluster, either through a command line or a console dashboard. So command line is the Google command line is the new and interesting feature which is introduced by Google, which gives you the access to cloud resources using the command line. So we'll click on run in Cloud Shell. Now initially the Cloud Shells opens like this, and it gives you a ready-made command for the first time to give you access to the Cloud Shell. So we'll click enter. Now as you can see that kubeconfig entry generated for first cluster. Now we will use a simple gcloud command. Now this command is basically used to list out the number of projects, the name and the number of projects with their ID. So friends, that was all for today's video. In the next video tutorials, we will learn how to work on these clusters. Thank you.